There we go. Now then, right here.
Okay, so we're already got, apologize, we were on mute. So we're starting the roll call. We're gonna start with Clark this month.
Clark County, Brian Dixon's here.
Clark, how did we see? How about town of Clarksville?
Kevin Beatty.
Thank you, Kevin. Oldham County. Louisville Regional Airport Authority.
Here.
Here. Louisville Metro Government.
Present.
Kentucky Transportation Cabinet.
Here, Isidro Delgado.
Isidro. Jefferson County League of Cities.
Here.
NDOT Seymour.
Julie Feltner, I'm here.
Hi, Julie.
Tony McClellan.
Hi, Tony. NDOT Central Office. Lloyd County. Clark County.
Present, Brian Dixon.
City of St. Matthews. Here. City of Shively. I'm here. City of New Albany.
Here.
Hi, Claire. City of Jeffersonville. City of Jeffersontown. Here. City of Charlestown. And Bull County. Here. Thank you all for joining us today. We did have we certainly have a quorum. We had a robust agenda last time, so that was the reason for our 1 o'clock meeting today. Since we probably got an hour's worth, 45 minutes worth today, we thought we'd move it back to 1. So I apologize that if there's any mix up there. We certainly have a quorum and we're ready to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Again, I want to thank everyone for being here, especially those who join online too. Appreciate your time and to be with us today. So the next item on our agenda is the approval of the May 22nd TPC meeting minutes. If you had a chance to look at those, and if there are no corrections, there is one part that was revised there, Greg. We had one part that was a little mixed up, but that you may not have got the revision, but it's been corrected.
It has been corrected, yes.
For our records. So need a motion then to approve the revised minutes for May 22nd. Rolling. Have a second? Second, Chairman. Thank you. Any other questions? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes are approved. Next is our public comment period. Greg,
Yes.
you have anything there for us?
We did not receive any public comments prior to the meeting, not seeing anything in the Q&A. If it comes up, I'll bring it in other business.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. The next on our agenda is the public involvement report.
Yes.
And Greg, you have that for us.
Yep. Let me pull that up here real quick for you. All right, take a first look at the numbers from last month. Down a little bit compared to the previous month, but still really good numbers. 179 visitors on our main page, 160 visitors for the tip page, and the MTP actually went up to 113 visitors. So that was good news to see. Analytical wise on social media, Facebook again continues to be our strong suit. 7 posts with just over 1,100 impressions, 717 reach and link clicks. Twitter was second this time. X coming in at 239 impressions, continues to be down. Instagram continue to see that little bit of roller coaster that previous we were in a couple months ago. We went down, we went back up to normal, back down again. Continue to work on that, but 139 impressions, 8 engagements, that is lower than normal. Not a ton of events, but I did help with Kentucky Association of Government Communicators Spring Conference, and Andy was a special guest at the One Southern Indiana Metro Manufacturing Summit. So that was actually really well received. I don't know if Andy has any.
It was. So those who don't know, 1SI hosts one of these summits each year. A lot of industry was there and talking about, not just transportation issues. For that matter, the keynote speakers were from the FBI, Special Agent from the Kentucky office and the Indiana office, and there's a few other, the railroads are there, etc. manufacturing issues. And we got a lot of good questions, and for that matter, we got some feedback on our rideshare program, and maybe even prospective new companies that are going to engage us for our Every Community Counts program. So if nothing else, that looks like it'd be a great success for that reason.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, like I said, not too much in May, but I do have some events coming up in the month of July. I'll be a little busy, so have some more stuff when we return in August. But that wraps up my report. I'll take any questions if anybody has it.
Any questions? Okay, Greg, thank you very much. Next up then is item number 5, is the I-64 interchange and connector study. And you're going to present that for us, Andy?
Well, I will introduce Mr. Tom Springer. Many of you all know Tom Springer. Tom's with UK4, engineering firm that does a whole lot of work in Kentucky, and probably a little bit in Indiana, but a whole lot in Kentucky. And Tom and his colleagues and counterparts, and on behalf of KYTC, recently completed what's known as the I-64 interchange and connector study. This is a study that Tom will dive right into, but looks at the 9-mile gap that you see on your screen, that 9 miles east of Gene Snyder and west of Simpsonville. 9 miles in an urban area, that's a pretty big gap, isn't it? And it's effectively a little bit longer than that, meaning that to get off of Gene Snyder or 64 over here at Blankenbaker is an extra mile or two. So it's effectively an 11-mile gap, you could argue. So Tom, take it away, please.
Thank you, Andy, Chairman Kaufman, Transportation Policy Board, for having me here today, especially Mr. Tom Hall over here, my counterpart on this project. He's the project manager at the cabinet for this study. And so I'm standing here representing the cabinet and this cool project we work on. So it's an introductory statement. I want to say how important you are as the board to this region. You set the policy, you create a master plan, back it up with funding, and it really charts the course for the future. Likewise, I feel like this project is important for the region. Not just the area on the map is a very large geography. There's tens of thousands of people that live in that area, a lot going on, but this project would provide an overall benefit and enhancement to the transportation network region-wide. So I think it's fitting that we talk about this project with this board at this time being that we just finished the planning study, as Andy mentioned. We're yet to start preliminary engineering, environmental, and then with the highway plan coming up, it's time to start thinking about, these types of big projects and sponsorships and all those things. So I guess I can move my mouse myself or click this page. So here is our study area that we took a hard look at. There's a lot going on in that area. To the west, we took in the Gene Snyder I-65 to make sure we study the traffic impacts and changes to that corridor. To the north is US 60, make sure all that is included. Then we took in a fair amount of Shelby County to make sure that we study the benefits and impacts to anything that would happen over there, and then Taylorsville Road to the south. Before I click to the next next slide, I want to draw your attention to the map here because I have something kind of cool to show. Yay, it came in. So this is a scanned image from the original 1969 major thoroughfare plans that the Louisville MPO, which you're still the Louisville MPO, the same board at that time, our predecessors, the previous generation, identified this project as a good idea, something to put on the books. Along with major projects like the Jefferson Freeway, which is now Gene Snyder, East End Bridge, Hurstbourne Lane, Blankenbaker, lots of roads that have made Louisville the strong economic engine that it is. And they put this one on there too, so I thought it was fitting to drop that in. Of course, when my brain works, I thought about that about probably 4 in the morning or something. And I was like, so I got up at 7 and added, like, what a cool slide. I need to add that. Okay, moving on. I want to take somewhat of a deep dive into this because you all are smart people and this is, transportation group, transportation project. This is our study schedule. So 2023 to 2024, we had a lot of public meetings. Andy participated. Some of you may have been in some of those meetings too, but we have wrapped up the planning study, submitted the final report. I think it's on KIPTA's page. It's definitely on District 5's page.
Okay.
In 2008, KYTC did a very similar project, but similar study, and that's a graphic from to the right here. That study was a little different in scope. It was very heavy on traffic and traffic modeling, and it showed that a corridor sort of east, closer to I-265, what's now the Parklands, would have more of a draw on a benefit than other corridors. But that was the limit of that study. So this study, we took a hard look at the land use changes. Of course, Parklands is in. Parklands had a huge impact on land use and growth in the area. We identified new goals, and then we analyzed corridors in a tiered process that I'll talk about in a lot more detail. So the main purpose of the study was to explore options to reduce congestion. Right, we all know there's a lot of congestion in that study area. An existing road network and to improve connectivity between I-64 and I-265, Jefferson County, in Kentucky, 1848, and over in Shelby County. So reduce congestion, improve connectivity, and then some other goals are plan for the future, improve safety, environmental preservation, which is very huge in this area, and promote joint planning. So we work closely with Metro, Mike King, and others. So we go to the first public meeting and we ask people to draw on it online and where you think a corridor would be. And of course, I want to point out that big X. Somebody just drew a big X across the whole thing. Not here. But then we did a little heat map, and what looks like a couple kidneys over to the right are really where most of the lines were drawn. That evolved into this map you see at the bottom right, which we call Tier 1. We had 10 corridors, some of which could be mixed and matched, and we screened those with input from local officials, a lot of cost and impacts and engineering and things like that, and advanced it down to 3 corridors, A, B, and C. So I'm going to spend some time talking about these 3 corridors. We did have a number of engagement opportunities. One of Tom's ideas was that we have a community advisory group. We had people, citizens and other people, a lot of interested people stepped up and were very engaged. They all came to the meetings. I'm sure some have come to maybe some of your meetings because they're very passionate about some of the transportation issues we face. We had elected officials briefings before each public meeting, 2 rounds of public meetings, and then we did a resource agency coordination, both local agencies and statewide agencies. So 307 public surveys. Most of the people responded to live in the area or live and work in the area, and almost all of them travel through the area. But we got a pretty good reach. Just look at that map who commented on the project, which is fitting. That's what we wanted because it's a regional project, not a local project. So we ask, would a new north-south road and connection and to the interchange, improve traffic? 75% agreed at our second public meeting, but before that, see in the bottom right, only 60% thought that project was needed. So I think the more we did engagement and the more, especially our community advisory group, they went back to their communities and their neighborhood associations and things. I think you got a lot more support. The 25% said, we don't like the project at all. We asked about which corridor they would like. Most of them preferred alternative A, and which one would they use? And they both used alternative A. You still have about the same 25% that said neither. And in the public surveys, with which section do you consider to be the highest priority, north or south, or north and south? About half supported or thought that highest priority would be just to the north, I-64 up to US 60. Just kind of interesting. Some even said just to the south, but not too many. We asked the public and local officials and everybody about design options. Should this corridor have shared use path, sidewalks, bike lanes, lower design speed, narrow typical section, lighting, green infrastructure, spaced out access points for planted medians. It got great feedback on all of those things. The resource agency coordination, there's a standard way we do it, but we also focused on local agencies. The top one, Louisville Jefferson County Environmental Trust, they own a piece of land in this area or have an easement on it. And it was impacted by Concept B. They're very vocal about that there's a lot of effort and planning and tax dollars and resources to support those, and they don't want to road through it. So we listened, we had great meetings. And now I'll talk about these three build concepts. First, we looked at rebuilding the existing road network, and we found that would not meet the recommended the goals and objectives. It's not going to handle the future traffic. So that's kind of the long and short of that scenario, but it did, our traffic models for this project, which included the MPO model, statewide model, and also revised just for this study area, it did show across the board, no matter which alternative we pick, there's a need to widen US 60 from Eastwood out to the Shelby County line. So we've identified that as a future shaft project. So like I say that word wrong, something for MTP and for you guys to consider. So look at cost versus benefits, and we did a very detailed, the standard detailed cost benefit analysis, CBA analysis, the exact same methodology we use across the state. In every one of these projects, whether it's concept A, B, or C, just north only or full, scored very high. My laser doesn't show up on the TV, but far right column 2.96, all those numbers are anything over 1 solid. So they would all show a very big benefit, some more than others, but overall, you're getting it'd be a good project for the traveling public. So our draft recommendations we made as a consultant team and with input from the locals and everybody to the KYTC was to dismiss concept B. B is the one that would have impacted the Jefferson County Land Trust property. It's a big deal. It also would have rebuilt Eastwood Fisherville Road. And when you do that, you take Eastwood Fisherville Road out of the network, basically, right? Because it's now a new road. Whereas the other corridors to the east or the west, you leave Eastwood Fisherville still as a network connection. Right? So the others favor better because Eastwood Fisherville, as messy as the road as that is, still drew a lot of traffic. So dismiss B, and we did. That was recommendation from the cabinet. And then we studied some more chaff projects, US 60 widening, Kentucky 155, Kentucky 148 down to Route Road, item 5-8954, that is still a valid project. Kentucky 1531, which is Eastwood Fisherville Road. Assuming everybody's driven it and everybody agree that it is a cow path that has been paved. And it could use some improvements. And then we also identified a new east-west connector north of I-64, south of US 60, kind of south of Eastwood, connecting Echo Trail and Eastwood Fisherville, that would provide some benefit to the region. And then our recommendation was to advance A and or C for preliminary design. And after a thorough discussion, we're advancing both. So it's the and, not the or. So reasons to advance A, which is A, and I get y'all don't have the maps, you haven't poured over these things, but it's pretty close to the parklands. It's on the east side of the parklands. They carry a much higher amount of traffic than the others. That jives with the 2008 planning study. You have the new middle school there that it would serve. It would serve the parklands. You have an industrial park in the south along Taylorsville Lake Road, Taylorsville Road, that area. It makes a lot of good linkages for the Spencer County traffic. And it definitely is more regional travel time savings, which is an important factor from an MPO perspective. It did get a lot of public support. And it also aligns with the 2019 Floyd's Fork vision for like a park boundary road. The parklands, the Dan Jones and all the people involved in that want to preserve the parklands, but they also see that people are going to want to live near it. We need to have smart growth to guide that. So concept C, which is way over east, Shelby County line area. Some reasons to advance it. It is located midway in that 9-mile gap that Andy talked about. So it's midway between the Snyder, Blankenmaker Maker area and Simpsonville, and closes from an interstate spacing standpoint. That makes a lot of sense. It is shorter than concept A, lower cost, and fewer bridges and fewer impacts to the homes. And it's further from Eastwood. And Eastwood was very opinionated and very vocal and very involved in this project. And it consolidates some at-grade railroad crossings in the center, which is always a good safety thing. So there's a couple of reasons not to advance this. And as you all know, because you're professional transportation planners and such, there is no silver bullet. There is always, every time you try to solve a problem with a design, you end up creating some other problem. You're trying to find the best fit and the most informed decision. That's what we do. So there are reasons not to advance these. First is and concept A is the Eastwood neighborhood plan. That plan from 2005, current Eastwood area supports something further east. Proximity to parklands is that, well, that has pros, providing access to the community around the parkland. There's also cons. You're introducing noise and truck traffic and runoff. There are greater utility impacts and there are more relocations, although it's not huge number of relocations. Concept C, when you get further out near Shelby County line, you're serving a lot less traffic, particularly in the south where it's very rural. There's the potential for EJ concerns. I know EJ's last year's problem, but still community concerns. And you're kind of promoting sort of leapfrog development, right? You're jumping over a lot of land to be out there in the middle, splitting those interchanges, splitting that 9-mile corridor. It did get the least public support, and there's more on new alignment, like you're splitting farms and land as compared to A, and there are more stream impacts. So from a traffic perspective, for this map, for this meeting today, I put a big X on B because we're not going to advance that. You look at that table at the bottom, you can see concept A attracts a lot more traffic than concept B. I'm sorry, C over there. And we also had to look at I-64 and the impacts to it. And would concept A require 6-laning I-64? And that's a big question because that would
Eight lane.
8. Thank you so much. You're right. 6 to 8. Adding another lane on I-64. Well, if so, that would be an independent project. But it is a concern. And it wouldn't be part of this project. But it's like, are we advancing that? Are we causing the cabinet and the MPO and the community to fund another multi-million-dollar project because of this? It's a big question. US 60 traffic. We took a look at what these concepts would do to US 60. And you can see the no bill, this is down near I-265, is 48,700, which is a lot. Both of these A and C would reduce that, would pull traffic from that area. And then west of the Parklands, same thing. And then east of Eastwood, they actually increase traffic on US 60, as you can imagine, because they're heading to the new corridor. But not by much. So this is I don't think this is the last slide. Anyway, we had to take make sure the interchange works. The FHWA cares very much, right, that we build an interchange that operates safely, and they all do. speed would not have, it would have had an impact to the interstate because it's drawing more traffic, right? So another strike against that one is that the LJ set property wasn't enough for causing an interstate problem. But the other two work just fine. And this is an overall matrix of the impacts. I know it's kind of hard to read that purple and blue text up there, but are we meeting the goals that we laid out of connectivity, reducing congestion, and some other metrics like the total length, number of lanes, and percent on new alignment, right of way, utilities and cost. And this is really just to show we did take a hard look. Do look at that bottom line though. The cost estimates, and this is all phases. A and C, you're looking at $130 to $120 million project. It's a major project. It's a big lift. Take some funding. And then if you have to widen I-64, you're looking at another 70 to 80 million or $70 million there with A. That could be someday in the future, maybe expedited a little bit if A is selected. And that is my last slide. So basically, as I told Andy, giving you all the same presentation we gave Tom and District 5, without the local officials, without the CAG, after those meetings to really, they're the project team, they gotta make a decision. And so full of detail there to guide them in that decision, which ended up that says, we want to carry A and C forward because preliminary engineering and environmental is a decision-making process too. And if you're studying one and a major roadblock comes up like historic district or dangerous species or something, community, whatever it is, you have other options. And within those two corridors, you would create more fine-tuned alignments. We just drew Sharpies, big lines down the map. So that is the next phase, assuming the project advances to it. And if you have any questions, sure, Tom can answer.
This project was sponsored in Shift a couple months ago, so there is that. So that's a first step of its continued inclusion into the highway plan. Is that fair to say?
Fair state.
Of course, when will you decide it appears A or C? Any idea?
Well, whenever we start on preliminary engineering, that decision would be made in preliminary engineering, probably with the NEPA document.
Right, and so, but the question then would be, when does preliminary engineering work start? And that's a fair statement. The highway plan is sort of politically driven, and if there's enough political will behind it to fund a design and preliminary engineering phase in the next highway plan, we're engineers at the highway department will start working on that phase and trying to narrow down between A or C as to which one is the most appropriate. But really, at this point, I think if people were really interested in getting an East End interchange, it's a good time to start letting your state legislators know that that's an important priority and that it needs funding in the highway plan.
I think there's an environment that knows we need it.
Yeah, and in 2008, when we studied the project, it was a little less interest in doing an East End interchange, and it was a little more 50-50 on the idea. But as kind of Tom showed you, the winds have shifted a little bit, and there's a lot more growth and development out there, and a lot more interest in it. And it is, to me, it's from a transportation engineering perspective, the 9-mile gap that Andy talks about, that's a big distance, especially in an urban area, for us to not have an interchange.
You could possibly be the biggest distance in the state, maybe over near Akron, big stretch.
Yeah, especially in an urban area.
Well, the last few years, the increased traffic on both sides of that, Taylorsville Road and Shelby Road, and they can increase that interest.
Yeah.
Desire.
Yeah, it's definitely a big area of growth in the parklands and all the new home developments that are out there. really are making it pop, you know. But one more comment is that it's, that's a big undertaking. And, you know, in planning, we're just conceptualizing, but when we take that step into phase one or preliminary engineering, that's when we're really starting to get serious about, eventually building something. It'll be a big decision, and like I said earlier, the more, the legislature is behind it, the more likely it's gonna get funded and we'll move forward.
You see the merging as a, like an interstate type system connecting all two arterials, or more of just a personal parkway type of?
The latter with accurate access. It would not be a fully controlled facility. That's never been the vision. You'd have spaced 1,200 foot, 600 foot, whatever shakes out.
Yeah. Access to the connector. Correct. So it'd be like a firstborn parkway, 4 lanes to the interstate, like.
Well, when I say like Hurstbourne, I mean where you could pull up and you have to look left or right and pull out onto the road. That's what it would be like. The number of lanes is, I think, north of 64 to 60, we determined that was definitely 4 lanes, right? The traffic warranted. South of I-64 to Taylorsville Road, felt like 2 lanes would handle the traffic. Maybe turn lanes here or there, signals, but that's the
Until we.
concept. Obviously, that gets re-looked at too in phase one, do a very detailed traffic study. We did the high level. Okay. Model, traffic model.
Yeah, those models, they've got a tremendous amount of growth forecasted in the socioeconomic side of them, people, houses and jobs in those areas. But if those areas continue to grow faster than even those high projections, then, you know, that traffic analysis that's to be determined when it's done, you know, again, it could be high, could be low, I suppose. It could go either way. But I think this room should have confidence that those traffic volumes that are big numbers, those come from high levels of growth assumed in the Eastwood area, even in the Spencer County and Shelby County areas as well. So those numbers are into there, and only time will tell whether or not those projections are correct. But I think this issue, it's similar to other ones in our region too. You know, it looks like Sellersburg to me. It looks like some issues in Bull County to me. It looks like congestion on Bardstown Road is about the same as the congestion on Taylorsville and Shelbyville Road. This one actually, maybe this project could actually help Taylorsville and Shelbyville roads potentially, given some of the volumes, at least on concept A seems to indicate that at least for some period of years it would. So, you know, again, this is a major project and it would take a major investment and major commitment, and it's a well thought out planning study. I hope that you all enjoyed hearing from Tom, and it seems like everybody was paying good attention to it, and it's a big project potentially for our region.
One more thing to add is that, in 2008, Tom showed there was like 10 or 12 different potential alignments, and our goal was to, you know, update the traffic and re-engage the public, but also narrow down that spaghetti bowl of alignments into something less. So our goal was to sort of narrow things down and at least move the process forward a little bit. And we did, because now we're down to more like 2 corridors, and we have a better gauge on traffic and a better gauge on the public, and also cost estimates if we want to move forward. It's a good study.
Any more questions? If done, we thank you very much.
Thank you all. Andy has a presentation. Share.
Yeah, we haven't shared it.
I guess that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. Next up on our agenda is the call for project schedule. And Brady, you have that for us?
So this is the last in-person reminder, I guess, for call projects. We have our application period opening up in just a few days here. So the first couple slides I talked about before, and then there's 2 slides in here that I haven't specifically called out as reminders as well, that I'll get into. So from again, this call projects is only for STBG funds in Kentucky. So all state and local public agencies within the get to NPA boundary are eligible to apply for these funds. we're anticipating about $25 million being available. The chart you see here shows the anticipated end of year unprogrammed balance. Those numbers are likely to change a little bit as we get closer to the end of fiscal year 25. We're gonna have projects phase shift into later years. So the exact numbers of where money is available in which year will probably shift a little bit before the development projects working group starts to really look at these projects. But the total amount of money available across these years, 26 to 29, is going to remain about the same at $25 million. Another look at the schedule here. The TPCC working group is beginning to form right now. Getting those members on board. The bulk projects application period, like I mentioned earlier, opens on July 1st and ends on close of business August 1st. So that is upcoming. And then there'll be processes after that to analyze applications, vet applications, score projects, have the working group work on ranking those projects based on their priorities and the information provided. And then the working group will begin to meet to form a recommendation for the TTCC and eventually the TPC. Okay, a couple things I have not mentioned before. There are several details or reminders or tips or guides if you were looking to apply for funding in this upcoming month that's located in your memo. So I would encourage you, if you have not yet, to take a look at those notes in preparation for your applications. A couple other things that are not in your memo that I haven't mentioned this go round. It's just a reminder, if you're submitting a new project, you're going to also be submitting a project description that will, if that project were to make it into the tip, that would be your project description for the tip. Just a reminder that those do not need to be a long diatribe with everything about the project. You need to focus on your general project scope. What are your improvements you're making in just a sentence or two or three sentences max, and include logical terminal. So we're improving road X from intersection A to intersection B. That's basically all you need in your description. Your justification is less restrictive. That's where you get to tell us, we want to make this improvement on the project for reasons A, B, and C, and we are thinking about potentially doing X, Y, and Z to make these improvements on the project. You're able to give us a lot more description and let us know what you're intending to do. So those are notes, things to think about when you're submitting applications. There are also many other questions in the application process where you'll be provided more details on your specific project. They'll have questions that ask you specifically if you're doing a roadway project, how many lanes are existing for the project? How many are you anticipating? Are you planning to have a 4-lane road go down to a 3-lane road, or a 2-lane road expand to a 5-lane road, or whatever it is? There are several questions that you'll be able to expand upon the justification and need for your project as well, beyond just the justification question. Another thing to remember is KIPTA does have a complete streets policy that was accepted in 2022. The summary essentially of that policy is that all MPO dedicated projects must include complete streets improvements or provide some kind of justification as to why the proposed projects cannot include improvements for pedestrians, cyclists, or in transit. And there are 7 specific exemptions listed in the complete streets policy that you can use to justify why you don't need to, or why your project is not including complete streets aspects in the project. And they're a list of what they are. I'm not going to read them all to you, but you can find them in KIPTA's complete streets policy. There's these exact list of exemptions. So if your project does not include bicycle, pedestrian, or transit improvements, refer to this list, and then in your application, state how one of those exemptions apply to you. Those exemptions will be heard by the TPCC working group, and it's judged accordingly whether they would be approved as exemptions. all older projects, so projects pre-2022 are not required to follow these complete streets projects. So if you already have a MPO dedicated project that's been approved, you don't have to follow the complete streets policy, although it is recommended to try to the best of your ability. But this policy does more strictly apply to new MPO dedicated projects now that the policy is in place. We did have the working group, as I mentioned before, that we are beginning to put the working group together that involves 2 Indiana TTCC voting members and Kentucky TTCC voting members. That is ongoing at the moment. These members will also have the opportunity to be a part of the TTCC working group in 2026, which will involve funding from Indiana and Kentucky. That's all that I have, unless there's any questions that anyone has for me.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Brady.
Sure.
We'll move on into item number 7. The administrative modifications for the fiscal year 2025-2028 and also the transportation improvement program. Chris, you have that for us?
Presentation. So everyone should be aware, we officially have our new tip. Now we've got our federal approval. So I'm gonna talk about our first administrative modifications to the tip. That is admin mod number 1 to the tip, also known as administrative modification 26 to the MTP. So as a reminder, this is one list of project updates with 2 names. Because the FY 25 to 28 tip is new, it's the first administrative modification to that document. Most administrative modification updates are to the tip, not the MTP. However, within the last 2 years, we added 2 policy updates. So very specific cases, we do make minor updates to the MTP, mainly the total estimated project costs when the project is in both documents. So for that reason, we needed to have a way to list these in the MTP, so we had to keep with the numbering from 26 and on until we get another MTP, then we'll start at 1 again. Okay, so I've got 36 project updates have been submitted for inclusion in the tip. And as a reminder, approval is not required, this is for information only. So our list includes not just new updates that were submitted, it's also administrative modifications 23, 24, and 25 to the prior tip. And because those were submitted while our draft was under review, they didn't make it into the first draft of the new tip, so we had to redo them in administrative modification 1. So that's a part of this. And I will be emailing the final draft to all of you folks and also both KYTC and NDOT for the STIP updates following this meeting. So administrative modifications are just for those minor changes to the projects in the tip. And this can include adding new projects that are qualifying as group projects under the designated categories. I'm not going to go through the full list of the specifications of what qualifies for administrative modifications. Most of you probably are already aware. We try to do them when we can because we get the changes updated faster than through an amendment. In this case, we have 3 projects from Clark County. These were all in 1 or more of the final 3 admin mods to the last tip. So we're now adding them to this tip. And these first 3 projects for Floyd County were added at the adoption of the new tip. And we're now making these updates, mainly phase shifts from 25 to 26 of the PE. And Bridge 51, KIT ID 1558, that one was in administrative 24, and now we're adding it to the new tip. That update made then. I have 3 New Albany projects. These projects are getting minor updates as the phases needed to be shifted out a little bit. And I've got 10 NDOT updates. This one is the very first one for 3025. That one was previously in admin mod 23. And the remaining 9 are new updates that NDOT has requested. And then I have 6 from KYTC. 4 of these are the EV charging stations previously added in administrative modification 24. However, at that time, there were 5, but one of them has dropped off, so we're not going to add it to the new tip. I've got 2 or 3 EV charging stations that were not eligible for route projects, so those are going to be in our first amendment coming up in a couple of months. And IDs 213 and 436 were both in administrative modification 23, so we're just redoing that update in our new tip. Then I've got 2 for Metro, 2539, that one's getting some minor funding updates, and 3311 is just the updates from admin mod 23 being added to the new tip. And then I have 1 from Oldham County. This is a new update that's shifting some existing funds between phases. And finally, I have 8 TARP updates. These are all updates to child projects of 585. We are adding now the ally codes, the activity line item, to our, well, when applicable, to our transit projects, because we can, and in the space where we normally would add a state ID or a DES number to some of the highway projects, we're gonna go ahead and put the ally codes in there now, so that's a new change for us. And all of these 8 projects, these are the I guess packet of this year's updates for the 5339 or 5307 funds. And I wanted to give one reminder, you can submit project update applications at any time. These are gonna be administrative modification 1, but you can keep on submitting them. We're not having a meeting next month, but I'll still be prepared to do an administrative modification next month as well, and then follow up with the group and present it in August.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Chris. Okay. Is there any other business that anyone has to bring up?
A couple things real quick. I failed to recognize our advisory members that are here, so thank you to Tom Hall for being here in the room. Tracy Lovell, Brian Davis, and then special shout out to Tanya Higdon. Tanya helped shepherd the TIPS adoption. We adopted it last month, right? And got it circulated amongst our federal partners, and pretty quick turnaround. So Tanya, thank you very much for doing that for us. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then a reminder, there are no meetings, no TPC meetings, nor PTCC meetings, nor the board meetings scheduled for next month. So we'll see everybody in August. And then also one last note on the Safe Streets and Roads for All action plans. Those final plans got submitted or sent. You all should have received them, or your somebody in your agency should have received yours probably late last night. They showed up pretty late last night in my email. And so I think we have a couple posted on our website right now, but we'll get the rest of them posted either today or tomorrow. Make sure they're out on our website for safekeeping. And with that concludes any other business
Okay.
that I have.
Anybody have anything else? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
We'll move. Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 You are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a